Let me ask you something. Have you ever opened up TikTok or Instagram Reels, just for a minute, and then you look up and poof, an hour has completely vanished? If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. The endless scroll has become this huge part of modern life, but it's also raising some serious questions about what it's doing to our brains and our well-being. Well, to find out, we're going to dive into a massive new scientific analysis that just gave us our clearest picture yet. So we're going to break down a huge study of studies that pulled together the findings from 71, yes, 71 different scientific papers, all focused on short-form video. And get this, those 71 studies included data from nearly 100,000 people. So this isn't just one small experiment we're talking about. This is a serious, global effort to find a real consensus on the effects of our scrolling habit. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why we're all so hooked on this endless scroll. Then, we'll unpack the massive analysis itself, looking at what it says about our focus and our mental health. And finally, we'll pull it all together to figure out what this really means for you and me.
All right, first up, the never-ending scroll. I mean, these short-form video platforms have totally changed how we consume, well, everything. They started out as just fun, right? But now they're used for news, for learning, even for political campaigns. So the big question is, what is this constant, rapid-fire stream of content actually doing to our health?
So what's the magic sauce? What makes these platforms so sticky? It all comes down to the design. The content is super short. The interface lets you scroll forever with no natural off-ramp. And then there's the algorithm, which gets scarily good at learning exactly what will keep you glued to the screen. It's a ridiculously effective recipe for capturing and holding our attention. Okay, let's get to the main event, this massive analysis. We're looking at what's called a meta-analysis. And that's not just one study, it's a huge scientific effort to combine all the best research out there into one super powerful set of findings.
So what is a meta-analysis? Basically, think of it like this. Instead of looking at just one tree, you're getting a satellite view of the entire forest. It combines data from tons of separate studies to find the overall trend. This gives its conclusions a whole lot more weight and, statistical power.
And this slide right here shows you just how serious that process is. The researchers started with almost 5,000 potential studies. From there, they had to meticulously screen them, checking for quality and relevance, until they boiled it all down to the 71 most solid, high-quality studies. That's what formed the basis of this whole thing. So what did they find? Let's start with our brains, cognition, things like memory, focus, decision-making. And this is where we see some of the really strong connections. The analysis really zeroed in on two key areas. First, there's attention. That's your ability to just stay focused on one thing, like reading a book or actually finishing a project. And second, there's inhibitory control. Think of it as your brain's braking system, the ability to resist distractions and tell yourself no to impulses. Now this is where the data gets really interesting. See all those dots? Each one is a study. And that diamond at the bottom? That's the overall average. Since that diamond is clearly to the left of the zero line, it shows a significant negative link. In plain English, the analysis found that the more people engaged with short-form video, the more likely they were to have poor cognitive performance, especially in those two areas we just talked about, attention and inhibitory control. Okay, but why would this be happening? Well, one of the leading theories is called habituation and sensitization. The idea is our brains get habituated. Basically, they get used to that constant, super fast-paced stimulation from the scroll. And that can make slower things, real-life tasks, feel boring or extra hard. At the very same time, our brains become sensitized or more responsive to that quick little reward of a new video, which just reinforces the cycle of swiping for the next hit. All right, on to the second major finding, the connection between short-form video and our mental health. And this is where the story gets even more interesting and a little more complicated. So, the analysis found that more SFV use was consistently linked with poorer mental health. And you can see right here from the chart, the connection was strongest for higher levels of stress and anxiety, with depression following pretty closely behind. And what's going on under the hood here is likely tied to our brain's reward system. That whole cycle of swiping and getting a new, unpredictable, and maybe exciting video, that triggers a release of dopamine. And that creates this powerful feedback loop that can lead to habitual and sometimes even problematic use. Okay, but hold on. This brings up a huge question. We hear all the time about how social media impacts body image and self-esteem. So surely this massive analysis found a strong link there, right?
Well, what the data from these 71 studies actually showed was something pretty unexpected.
Take a look at this. The final diamonds for both self-esteem and body image are sitting right on that zero line. What does that mean? It means when researchers combined all 71 studies, they found no consistent overall negative link. Sure, some individual studies found a negative link, some even found a positive one. The scientists think this might be because the content itself is just so diverse. You get everything from idealized bodies to body positivity movements, and it all just kind of cancels itself out in the big picture.
Okay, so we've seen a link with focus and anxiety, but a pretty surprising result for body image. Let's pull all this together now and talk about what it really means for us in our daily lives. And this right here is probably the single most important slide in this whole breakdown. This research shows a correlation, not causation. That's a huge distinction. It means that yes, more scrolling is seen alongside poorer attention, but, and this is a big but, this study does not prove that scrolling causes it. It's totally possible it's the other way around. Maybe people who already have trouble focusing are just more drawn to the easy stimulation of these apps in the first place. Figuring out that chicken and egg problem is the next big job for researchers.
So what are the big takeaways here? First, how you use these platforms seems to be a bigger deal than just how long you use them. Things that look like addictive use showed way stronger links to negative outcomes than just the number of hours spent scrolling. Second, these links were surprisingly consistent across both young people and adults. Third, using multiple platforms, like being on TikTok and Reels and Shorts, was linked to stronger negative effects. And finally, the actual content you're watching is a huge under-researched question mark that probably explains a lot.
Which brings us to our final and maybe most important question. After seeing all this, what should we really be asking ourselves about our relationship with the endless scroll?
It really seems like the conversation needs to evolve. The evidence is pointing away from just a simple screen time number. The bigger, more important questions are about the nature of our engagement. What are we actually consuming? What need is it filling for us? And is our scrolling intentional, or is it compulsive? Understanding that might just be the real key to building a healthier relationship with the endless feed.